This is your friendly neighborhood LSAT guru coming at you with part 1 of a great logic game problem. If you haven't done so already, you might want to copy and paste this problem from the description box and do it yourself before you begin. Period. Let's start with the fact that you know that LSAT problems and questions are presented very much like what you see here. Low interest. So I'm giving it to you in the same format. This problem is quite representative of one that you would see in the logic game section of the LSAT. Let's dive in and get started. I'm going to read it with you. A particular hardiness zone has a 7-month growth period where 5 vegetables are cultivated. That's going to be peppers, quinoa, radishes, spinach, and turnips. Only 1 vegetable becomes ripe each month. Stop right here and let's review the implications. Because if you miss the implications from the beginning, you'll never get the gist of this game. So we have 7 months, and they occur sequentially the way months have a habit of doing. There you have it, 7 months, but you only have 5 vegetables. Right away, you have to infer that you're going to need some extra help here in the form of 2 empty months. I put a double B at the end, as you notice, because these are blanks. You're not going to have anything there, but you need to fill that space. This helps you as you're under time pressure to just visualize that you have 7 items that need to be organized. Let's continue. The ripening occurs for each vegetable in accordance with the following conditions. Radishes always become ripe in the 3rd month. So you could just go ahead and already put your radishes there. It seems fixed, but it is not, for reasons which I shall explain. That's rule number 1. Rule number 2, turnips become ripe in an earlier month than quinoa. What does that mean? Turnips. And then you have quinoa. It's always going to be in that order. Does that mean they occur right next to each other? Not necessarily, although they can. What are the implications? The implications are that quinoa can never be first because turnips must come before it. Similarly, it means that turnips can never be last because quinoa must come after it. So if you practice these logic games frequently enough, you are going to get very good at making these assumptions quite quickly. I'm erasing this. You got the idea? Let's move on to the next rule. Rule number 3. Peppers become ripe in a month immediately before the month in which spinach becomes ripe. Immediately. So that means they're a package deal. Peppers immediately before spinach. So you're always going to see those two together. Rule number 4, which has implications, by the way. Number 4, none of the vegetables become ripe in the 6th month. So there you have our B in the 6th month. It's fixed and nothing's going to go in that place, okay? Now we've covered all the rules. We've digested many, but not all of the implications. So let's go ahead and tackle problem number 1. Let me remind you that question 1 of any logic game classically begins with a deep dive into a bombardment of information regarding many choices of a possible lineup, a possible sequence, what have you. These types of questions seem daunting, but as you are about to see in a moment, they are actually quite manageable. You can master these problems pretty quickly, and as we get better at this, you're going to actually answer question number 1 while you're digesting initially the rules. We're going to look at rule number 1. Radishes always become ripe in the 3rd month. Let's go and look and see how is this rule violated, and then we will use the process of elimination. So let's back up and re-examine an important point that we glossed over before. Looking at our sequence of 7 months, we see that radishes, according to Rule 1, always become ripe in the 3rd month. That is intentionally ambiguous on some level, because if you have a blank in either month 1, 2, or 3, then radishes are going to appear in month 4. So why is that? Because Rule 1 states that radishes always become ripe in the 3rd month, and that is the LSAT logic game way of making a distinction between the sequences of the months themselves, of which there are 7, and the months in which the vegetables themselves become ripe, in which there are only 5. What they should have said is that the radishes are the 3rd vegetable to become ripe, but they did not put it that way. So that's where the confusion comes from, the ambiguity built into the logic game itself. So with that implication in mind, let's have a look at Rule 1 again. Radishes always become ripe in the 3rd month. So here we have A, radishes in the 3rd month. That looks good, even though radishes are showing up in month 5. There is something wrong with A. You might notice it now, or it could come up with Rule 4. You might notice it says month 1, month 2, month 5. There's already 2 blank months. So we already know that A is going to be disqualified or eliminated at this point for that reason. B, we have, it says month 3, but it's not the 3rd month of ripening. So radishes are becoming ripe, yes, in the 3rd month, but it's the 2nd vegetable to become ripe. So B cannot possibly be the answer. So we're going to cross off B. Let's look at that rule for C. Radishes indeed are part of the 3rd month's ripening. Even though it occurs in month 4, it's still after peppers, spinach, we see radishes. So far, there's no violation of that rule. Moving on to D, we have peppers, spinach, and radishes. That's fine. E, pepper, spinaches, radishes. That is fine. Even though it shows that it's occurring in month 4, it's still the 3rd vegetable to become ripe, which is what the rule requires. Not the 3rd month, but the 3rd vegetable. There's a distinction in this problem. So Rule 1 has enabled us to indeed eliminate B. Let's move on to Rule 2. Turnips become ripe in an earlier month than quinoa. Quick and easy. Let's go ahead and see if the process is turnips, quinoa. For A, we see indeed turnips, quinoa. C, turnips and quinoa. D, quinoa and turnips. Okay, let's eliminate D. And let's keep going. E, turnips and quinoa. Okay, no problem. So now we're down to A, C, and E. Let's look at rule number 3. Peppers become ripe in a month immediately before the month in which spinach becomes ripe. So we're dealing with this issue right here, and they have to be right next to each other. Peppers, spinach. A, we see peppers and spinach. C, we see peppers and spinach. And then E, we see peppers and spinach. Okay, but look at this. We have month 1 and month 3. So month 2 is a blank. Those scoundrels who created this exam, they cannot be trusted. Peppers are not becoming ripe in the month immediately before the month in which spinach becomes ripe. Guess what? Eliminate answer choice E. Let's move on to rule number 4. None of the vegetables become ripe in the 6th month. There's no getting around that. It is an empty month. It is blank. So let's look at A. We have month 6, turnips. Already easy as pie. Let's eliminate A. That gives us answer choice C. You're not going to examine it. When you get really good at this, you won't waste the precious seconds ensuring that this is the correct answer. You will quickly move on to problem number 2. I hope this has been helpful. I wish you all the best, and remember, our contact information is available in the description box. We have more than 30 years of collective LSAT preparation experience. Reach out to us if you have any questions. All the best. Take care. Bye-bye.